observed people pulling in, they tend to pull in over here, and they'll kind of look, turn around and go out. And I assume they were here to vote. We're hoping to try and get the message to the poll workers here, please park on that side of the building, park, away from those front marks. Keep this wide open for people that want to come vote in the closest spots.
We can certainly give them that kind of instruction.
But that would be important.
Yeah.
And there's a little concern, is it too casual? Is there too much of a carnival environment between people? And does that adversely impact the sacredness of the voting process?
I guess
What do you
mean by that?
Well, I'm just capsulating some of the things that have come up and questions that I had and said, we need to bring the people in to have the answers to those questions. So I don't personally have a meaning really. I'm concerned about the parking. I'm concerned that I have observed people come in, turn around and go out. I don't know that they came back.
I don't know if that's necessarily parking as much as it could be a judgment as to how long it's gonna take to vote.
Could be all the above, right?
And they don't necessarily realize that there's 4 districts. So they see a mass of people, and they can easily make a judgment that,
But if they voted here in the past, which they should have, they should know there are 4 districts going on. And I guess clarifying my other comment, because I don't want to misrepresent that. I think the concern was, does the privacy and integrity of the vote, is that at all diminished as a result of so many people in such a small space? I don't know. And I don't know if anyone else had any other questions. Like I said, I'm trying to capsulate. We were talking about that more than once in this group, and that's why I said, well, we need to, have the two of you come in and talk to us.
From my perspective, the privacy thing doesn't concern me. As I'd come in and observed, just in passing by, I thought everybody was certainly professional and on point. I think many of our poll workers have been doing this for years.
Yes.
I think that's the benefit of a smaller rural community. People take great pride in doing it. So that isn't a concern. I wasn't here to witness cars, but I'd be curious, just more from a historical perspective about, what you think the strengths as well as the weaknesses are about having kind of a shared polling area such as this. So more from a member perspective.
I'd love a shared polling area if it was bigger than this.
Yeah.
We both come in and we saw the congestion. As far as the numbers of disenfranchising voters, it's right there. I mean, there's no up and down. The only difference is the presidential year that we saw when we pulled the numbers. The congestion, what is your suggestion? I mean, we tried to get the fire department down on Wallace Hill, and we couldn't. We got the figures as far as, went back to 2009, and there's no difference.
The 2009 through 2011 were when the polling site was over at Treadwell's Mills. And then the 12, 13, and 14 are with the poll site here.
Yes.
So you can see that as far as District 5 is, and we didn't change the parameters as far as the election district for District 5. When we did the consolidation, Cumberland had, there was a consolidation, out there with two polling districts, but not for District 5. And also the other was over South Plattsburgh and Clifton Park, Clifton Park. Yeah, where we consolidated there. But 5 wasn't, nothing changed with that. But you can see that there's, the numbers are, pretty much comparable. And as Sue said, the one big difference was, which is always the case, was the presidential in 2012, where you had a bigger turnout. What we also did was we showed 1, 2, and 7 for those 3 years where we combined it here, So you could see, you know, what the numbers were there, with, as far as the number of other people that were coming in to vote. And those are people that either had voted down here on the Tom Miller Road, or they had voted over in Wallace Hill as well as here. So, again, they're, you know, when we looked at it, we didn't see a significant difference in the numbers as far as, you know, anybody not voting because of the fact that they were traveling, you know, in one case, maybe a mile difference or maybe 2 miles difference from where they were before. And Trudwell's Mills, it's a little bit further than that, but not much. So, but, yeah, and your suggestion certainly on the parking is who said, you know, we can address that as far as our poll workers are
Yes.
concerned.
Yeah.
So that's,
We can tell them to park.
Yeah,
On the
if they
other
could do it
side.
on that side and,
Yeah.
you know, toward the field more.
right. Sure.
Would be,
Our
Oh.
office hasn't received complaints from the voters coming here. They usually call us.
that's good.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we've had some other areas where, in the past, where if there's an issue, where we will get phone calls coming in complaining about it. Or else we'll have the poll workers say, you know, we had people that complained to us about, you know, whatever the situation was at that particular poll site. Because we always make sure that they have a notebook to keep track of any, we tell them, if there's any comments by voters, we wanna know about them. So they have a binder that they write any comments in, and then we review them afterwards.
Do you have the 2008 number for 5? Because that would be the test.
I mean, I can,
We can
certainly,
get it.
I can get it, it's not a big, it's not. a
Because
big
that
deal.
way you would compare, you know, presidential to presidential.
Right,
Mm.
yeah, it's
We
not a
can do
problem to do that.
Okay.
If
I'm
you-
I'm just thinking if, say, if in 2008 presidential was, I don't know, say, 590.
Yep,
Mhm.
sure,
If you get that to me, I'll distribute it.
not a
to
problem,
Jerry.
Okay.
not a problem, we can do that.
I don't own this issue. Anyone else? I mean, there were comments and questions and concerns.
Not bashful, so I'll just ask
Sure.
a question from you folks. I think it's one that we all need to look at. Do you have any suggestions, comments, or thoughts on how we collectively can do this better and do it to manage our finances? I mean, certainly there's a lot of mandates. I mean, the amount of paper that you need to have per machines and ballots and stuff like that is largely, you know, outside of your folks' control, but I think you folks as commissioners
You
don't
threw in
always
that-
get,
You threw in that financial, because I was gonna ask you if you could enlarge this room.
no.
Okay.
Has anybody done that with a more central voting site for their entire municipality?
We found, Scarlet Falls, we found
Scarlet
a church.
Falls was the
It was in the
community
town
center.
hall, and it was just very congested, and we found the community center at the church. And that's worked out extremely well. Then in Denimore, we found the QWL.
QWL facility, yeah,
Mhm.
because that had been in a different, in a place, the same thing, where it was not a good look. It wasn't great for handicap access or anything like that, and QWL turned out to be a great
Yep,
spot for us.
That's a good location.
Yeah, so we have had some spots like that where we've been able to,
And it's very large,
yeah,
consolidated the districts there.
right. But beyond that, a lot of them are just geographically, you know, didn't lend themselves to consolidation because they were so far apart, the polling locations. So, you know, when we did that originally back in 2011, there were places where they would have liked to have consolidated, but they just couldn't because of the travel distances and so on, were just too big.
I know when we first talked about this, there was a savings. It wasn't astronomical, but it was a savings. And I think I was of the mind that, my God, if you want to vote and you're looking for excuses, you'll find one. You know, driving that 2 miles shouldn't be the issue.
It should not be.
I mean, trust me, we had people at some locations, where there's been consolidations where they would love it to be 3 or 4 miles that they have to go additional distances. But it hasn't really made any significant difference in the numbers. You know, I mean, there are gonna be some people that, you know, like you said, for one reason or another, will find a reason, I'm just not gonna do it, you know, but by and large, it has not made a significant difference.
the town of Plattsburgh too. That's larger than this one, that's in central location.
But why would that save any money? Because you have to have the same number of people for each of those districts
We
separately.
cut way back once we consolidated.
Yeah, we are not
We're
using
supposed
the
to have
same,
it, but we cut them back.
in the number of poll workers per district, when you have a separate site, we require more people for that particular location than we do when we have several that we've consolidated. I mean, that's the case for Scarlet Falls, that's the case for Peru, that's the case for here. The state says you have to have X number of poll workers, just like the state said you have to have X number of ballots. We've taken some liberties with that, and
And it's worked.
it's worked.
It's worked,
You know.
absolutely. When it's consolidated,
Yeah.
they share,
So you're still
Their
running
services with each
two
other.
people of each party per particular district?
Pardon?
Even though they're, 1, 2, and 7 go here, or whatever, they all go in the same place,
Mhm.
you're still using 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats for each one, aren't you?
sometimes four,
So,
depending on the population,
What,
the voting population.
for this particular building, let me rephrase the question. What were the cuts? Who was cut, what positions, how many? What was the savings when we consolidated into this building?
Oh, we'd have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that one of the positions I can tell you right off the bat were 3 coordinators.
Coordinators.
Because you needed a coordinator for each location. But certainly by consolidating the Wallace Hill, the Tom Miller Road, and the other, we didn't use the same complement of workers, poll workers, as we were using for each of those individual sites. I mean, we could go back and get numbers for you, but, we definitely, it would've been way too many people in here for the space.
Yeah.
And as Sue said, it's shared services. I mean, we have different people will help out, each other in here, where you just didn't have that capability when we had separate poll sites.
Tell me this, I'm just looking at the numbers again,
Yeah.
and, we were looking at the before consolidation and prior to consolidation.
Yeah.
What would you consider to be a significant difference? I'm looking at here, it looks like it's about on the average, we're doing, I pulled out the presidential year, maybe the difference of 50 voters. Would that be considered significant?
15,
50.
50? And, I mean, and not in any given particular year, because,
No, on the average. I'm just wondering, where's your cutoff point, say, yeah, that makes a difference, or it doesn't make a difference?
I guess I didn't,
Maybe you didn't
we
look.
haven't picked a number, Jim,
Okay.
that said what makes, what's a cutoff number as far as.
I'm just
what's
saying
significant
prior,
or
now there
what.
may be other factors, I'm just thinking, I pulled out the presidential year, because that's what about.
Mhm.
But if you do the others, it's still, at prior to consolidation, the voting was heavier, probably about 50 voters per year. And I just wondered if, we're at a point saying, oh, wait a minute, yeah, that is impacting, as opposed to,
Right.
Well, I would go back and look at, was it a local year?
Well, I'm
You
just
go back
doing-
and look at many,
Yeah, and
different
what I did
aspects
was
of
I
it.
took, if you had average 14 and 13 and 14, and then the other 3, it's, you're off by about 50 per year.
the only, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but 10 and 14 would be comparable years, I believe.
No,
No,
I mean, they could be, but part of it depends on, it depends a lot on who's running and what the races are.
absolutely.
I mean, yes, it was a gubernatorial year in both years.
that's what I'm saying.
But it doesn't mean that the interest in the races were,
No.
the turnout was gonna be the same. That
No, but I
will make a
understand that.
difference, yeah.
You've got basically, historically, when I've looked at numbers, I'd say there's like 2 spikes,
Mhm.
okay? And the big spike is the presidential election, and the next spike is the gubernatorial election, okay? And, those would be like 10 and 14, 8 and 12 would be your presidential elections. Now, nine, let me get it straight in my own head. 9 and 11 would be 2 years of local elections.
9 and 11, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd have congressional elections
No, not in the
Yeah.
off years, not in the odd years.
yeah. And those numbers, prior to consolidation, 9 and 11, and then you go up to 13, and there is a drop on that 13th year. If you go from 9 to 13 or 11 to 13, you see a drop.
Yeah, you've
I
got,
know you
if you take those 2 years, you got an average of 274 versus 233, so.
So there is a drop.
Well, we can blame it all on consolidating, or we can blame it on the candidate didn't go out and campaign. You know what I mean? And there's so many factors. There's so many factors in there.
Dead people.
Well, no, I mean, you don't know I mean, a lot of it does depend on the races that are happening on a given year.
Absolutely.
Well, I
Well,
agree with that.
but I'm just saying.
And I don't mean
If
whether
we're
it's
comparing one
presidential
year
or
against
governor,
one year, but if
but
you
I
had,
mean,
if you, say, beginning of the year, if you have 3 years, and
Yeah.
a 3-year average against another 3 different year average, and you're off on the average 50 per year,
Right.
then.
We can give you the 2008, you know, there was no intent to leave that out.
Well, I
for
understand.
particular
No.
reason.
That's
So I'll be happy to
We're not-
I'm just saying, if
provide
the
that for you.
2000, as if the 2008 were, say, 50 or 60 higher than the 2012, then, you know.
Right,
Well, I think you even go back further than 2008, because what you really wanna look at is there a trend of voters declining too?
Mhm.
Because if you're looking at 2009 and 2011, for example, 2011 is smaller than 2009. You could see, I mean, that
If
would
you
give you,
told us.
that would give you another sense for the types of trends. So I think you gotta go back much further than 2008. And I completely understand where you folks are coming from. It's much larger than just consolidation.
Absolutely.
yeah.
you
There are a
know?
lot of variables. So how many districts vote here?
4.
I
Right.
think that's one too many. I think that it's not big enough to have 4 in here.
What would
Can't
you
have
suggest?
any vote.
What would be your suggestion?
You have to move one out. There's no room, under your rules for poll checkers. You have to be there all the time, under your rules. There's no room for anybody to be there. You try to put one at each of these, four places, it's practically impossible.
I know that's extremely important to you, but it isn't to us.
Yeah,
Well,
We're looking at the voters and the availability and the accessibility to them to go in.
well, when we find out that it's also gone down 50 voters over here, or 30 to 50 voters in the particular district, and we're not able to even have people here, I think that's a significant difference.
Have you just tried rearranging the room, the way it's set up, with 4 districts in here?
I mean, we have done
We
that.
have,
It's
we can
what-
try some more.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something that can, we can do more. But we have done some changes in the past, to try to make the traffic flow and so on.
Because I will say
Smoother.
it is, I didn't experience this personally, but people did say it's kind of intimidating to walk in and have everybody just like stare at you and you're like, where do I go? I don't know what district I'm in. So maybe just having the districts and the tables set up at that end of the room and the voting on this end, it would be less
Mhm.
way like,
Or you
Maybe a
can
checker
have a
out, maybe a
divided wall.
checker outside.
To
Tell them which
which district they go
Yeah,
to.
sure.
You know, like
Which that's
Hannaford
easy
does.
enough to do.
Sure,
At Hannaford, when you go there,
I
they'll
know,
send.
I know.
Right, right. But
But
that's
That's
something
pretty
we,
much what we need to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really.
That's great.
I mean, I
You
listen
know what
to
we're talking
them.
about. Have you been to Hannaford?
Go down Lane 5.
Yeah.
maybe.
yeah.
It's like, can I pick my own? This is,
No. But that's
you're
easy,
absolutely
that's easy
right.
enough to do.
Yeah.
There's room outside there
Mhm.
that we can have somebody sit,
And
so
I think-
people come in and direct them.
I think you can look at whether or not the town can be of assistance. Is there too much stuff in the room? I don't know how much of the town's stuff gets removed from this room.
That you don't use, I mean, you're using tables and chairs.
Yeah,
Yes.
but all those, I mean, I don't know if all the chairs are there,
Just,
normally.
it seems to me there's
Are
not,
they?
there's not much room, much going on that end. It's kind of like dead space, and if having more room is the issue,
I think
that
they
could be
had
resolved.
voters going over to mark their ballots over.
Yeah, I thought that
there
I
was,
think they had things set up on those different tables
so people can.
on the other side.
Privacy.
We
sleeves and
can work
so on.
up with
But
our
we can work-
schematics
We can work
and,
up with that,
Mhm.
sure,
And
yeah.
use the outside room for, at least tell people what district they belong
Belong
in.
in, yeah, which would alleviate congestion at the table when somebody's being looked up and said, you know, here's my name, where do I vote, or what district do I go to? And that's certainly something that we could do, yeah, for sure.
Put your
We can do that as well.
friendliest greeter
Right.
out there in the hall to,
Get that Hannaford guy.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I'm very
you know,
close.
to make them feel.
Yeah, but that's a good suggestion. to do that.
It is.
And we've done that in other spots too, where, in fact, down at the government center, where we had issues with people coming in, they weren't quite sure. And we had, you know, people were directing them, so it made it go smoother.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have anything else?
Okay.
So I think what I heard is we're gonna talk about if
Parking.
there's a better way to reconfigure
Yes.
parking, a
Yes.
greeter that easily tells somebody where they should go in the room,
Yes,
and getting some numbers for 2008.
yes.
And finding out, you know, where can we save? I mean, okay, I understand what you're saying, there's gotta be, according to the law now, you have to have a person that's in charge of, and then you have 2 people for each party. So that's 5 people per district. I haven't seen it decrease except for the ones that you mentioned, those 3. I haven't seen it decrease, and the cost is going up.
Well, the cost hasn't gone up.
No, it hasn't.
It hasn't gone up for 2 reasons. One of them is because when we were first starting this, we were having to do about 100% for ballots, okay? This last year, we did 65%, which is at 40, and the cost went from 57 cents a ballot to 48 cents a ballot. So that's a significant drop when you go from, you know, when you drop down 35% of the ballots that you're producing and your cost goes down from 57 cents to 48 cents, 9 cents a ballot. So, you know, right away. The other thing is this, the machines, as you know, we had a maintenance, because the warranty ran out. There was a maintenance contract that we had to do for those machines. And countywide, that was about almost $26,000. We were able to come up with some grant money to pay that, so that the towns didn't have to pay the maintenance on the machines for 3 years or 40 months. But the main thing is the fact that there's significantly fewer ballots, and the price on the ballots went down.
So you did that based on which election it is, whether it's presidential, whether it's
Mhm.
governor, whether it's local?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
instance, next year's a local, you wouldn't expect that there's gonna be as many people voting?
Yeah, what we do is, Tom, is we'll look back at whatever type of election it is. So if it's a local election, we'll go back to the previous couple of local elections and say, what was the percentage of turnout of the voters? And if it's presidential, obviously we'll bump it up but we'll go back historically the same thing, or governors, the same thing. And by doing that, we've saved the town a significant amount of money.
Did you come close to being on the ballots or anything?
No,
Estimated it that way?
we did not. No. So, yeah, I mean, otherwise, all we're doing is landfilling ballots. I mean,
We look
Every
at, we look at
2
the
years.
history, but we also keep our ears open.
right,
And you know when there's turmoil in the town and there's gonna be a bigger
election.
election, you know, you just know it, and we try to plan according to that.
Well, that's good planning.
It's,
Because, I mean, some towns will have almost nobody running, or the candidates are gonna be unopposed.
Yeah.
You're not gonna need the ballots that you're gonna be if you had a hotly contested race. So, you know, those are the types of things that we take into account when we order the ballots.
Well, that's no small part of having you here tonight, so we can hear direct from you.
Right.
You know, we can get our perceptions responded to and
Sure.
hear it from the horse's mouth.
We'll certainly direct the inspectors to park on the other side.
Yeah,
We will draw the new schematic, and we'll come out here and set it up. That was, you're absolutely right on that.
One of the
It
things
probably can be rearranged.
that we could probably do, Bernie, is have some of our guys put cones out to spaces. So, you know, just, you could clearly say, you know, they've got reserved parking spaces for you, up in the, you know, up on the back section and stuff like that, so it just clearly,
For the workers?
yeah,
poll workers.
for the
Mhm.
poll
Yeah.
workers, so, you know,
Right.
just not confusion, so, just
Right.
up in the back.
Yeah,
That'd be easier if we said park behind the cones
Yeah.
on the south
Yeah.
side.
Sure,
That would be
That's good.
helpful.
that would work.
Sure.
That's good, yeah.
Helps them to know.
Absolutely. And, you know, if there's furniture in here that we don't need, you know, for the,
We can work with.
Have our guys take it out.
if you guys could
Put
take
them
it out,
home.
that would certainly help.
Whatever helps, absolutely.
Yeah.
We can draw the schematic, we
Yeah.
can still, we can both come out here
Right,
with a
So you can just
coordinator.
identify
do
which
some
things you're
measuring.
not gonna use, and then when you're planning the setup, and then we can have it moved out.
Mhm.
right,
When you do that and come up, let me know ahead, so I'll get Art to join you.
sure,
So
Yeah.
he knows what he needs to do.
absolutely. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. This year, fortunately, we're not gonna have you know, a potential election until September. No federals or anything, so, so that'll be,
That we're aware of.
yeah.
So far.
Save a little bit of money that
We
way.
might have congressional, I don't know.
That's a lot of
No.
cost.
Supreme Court.
Traditional.
Yeah, and that would be September though, so,
Yeah, they give you get a lot of
yeah, but,
warning.
yeah, but other than that,
But usually they know, I mean, you know, come June, you know
right,
whether there's gonna be or
a
not.
primary or not. Yeah, because they have to circulate petitions, so you're gonna know if people are, you know, so we'll have plenty of advance notice.
Anyone have anything else for Sue or Greg? Sue, Greg, do you have anything else for us? We appreciate your time.
Absolutely, happy to do
Was
it.
it-
We'll
Every-
be
every-
doing school elections starting
Yeah.
next
Oh,
year
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
They can no longer use the lever machines.
On the schools, they can't?
yeah, they got this is the last year for that.
What's the cost gonna be to the school districts?
Pretty much like each town.
Tell me this,
It's gonna go up.
the levers seem to work so well, is there any reason, I mean, when you talk to people, is any reason why they had to switch?
Other than Florida.
Florida,
Other than
Was that it?
Florida.
Yeah,
absolutely,
that was it.
that is it.
That started the ball rolling.
But the levers, it was nothing like Florida.
I don't.
Weren't
It didn't
hanging
matter,
chad.
it was a federal thing where the
Talking
federal
about
government
To
said
move
for
to a
everybody
different
had to.
type
But I would
machine.
think paper would be more like the hanging chads and our
No,
machine.
because what you're doing is, first of all, they're color, it depends, everybody's not the same. Some of them have a touch screen where they don't have paper, they just have a computer touch screen. But there were issues with that this last year, so, where somebody would push one and the other one would pop up and somebody said, oh, it was a programming error. So, but at least with the paper one, yeah, some
We
of
have the paper, we have the tape,
tape,
we have the disc.
disc, so, you know, if we have to, we could pull that paper ballot out and clearly see what the vote was, you know? And in fact, we have to do that anyway, because we have to do our 3% audit after every election, where we randomly select machines from the whole county, and then we have to physically count every vote against the tapes to make sure that there wasn't an error.
How's that going?
We never had a problem,
Great.
yeah, fortunately.
If there is, we have to go to 5%, and if there is, we
We
have to go to
to
100%.
follow 100%.
Wow.
So we count carefully.
It's such a stressful day for everybody. I mean, all the workers, God bless them,
Oh,
it's
yes.
long days.
We couldn't do it without them.
I mean, I know how hard it has been in the past to
Yeah.
find people. and-
Still is.
And really, we just want to make sure we're doing the best, the right thing for
Yes,
our
absolutely. That's all we
constituency.
want.
That's
Absolutely.
all it's about. That's all it's about.
Comes up another question about the workers. I know, it seems like you've had some difficulties getting people
We
to
have-
work. Are you using like people for part of a day and then another part of the day?
Some of them.
Some,
We
It's
prefer
been-
not,
we-
because you
yeah.
have to sign on at the beginning, you have to sign off at the end.
So even if you're part-time, you gotta sign on in the beginning, and then you go away, and then you come back at 2 o'clock,
Like
and
a
then you
bank
handle the
teller,
rest
you
of the
don't
day.
leave your drawer unless you're balanced.
So,
I was just wondering, because it's so hard to get, I
Yeah.
mean,
It's very
I know most of
difficult.
the people are older, and, you know, that's a heck of a long day, even for,
yeah, it is, you know, and some areas of, you know, are tougher to get workers for than others. I mean, amazingly, the more rural communities that are more widespread,
Easier.
you got all the workers you can use. You get in the city, in other places, it's like, really?
Pulling teeth.
Yeah, so.
Well, thank you very much. We don't
Yeah.
want to take any more
Okay.
of your
Thank you.
time. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you
Look
very
forward to
much.
working with you.
We'll,
Makes you smile.
Sue, I think you're forgetting a pen.
I don't, it's not mine.
It was on the floor, I picked it up.
Oh,
Okay.
That's a test.
red.
Right in
Have
that
all-
Red, I don't do red.
Sign.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Take care. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, Fred.
If you would do that on both of those pages, I would be pleased. So we can pay the bill.
is this for, like, last time I went down? New York?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Look, I thought I signed something. I went in to see Pat and signed.
Sign again.
You're going to jail.
Next
No,
topic
I'm
for
always
discussion was newsletter. Had a very little conversation with Meg, I think it's time. We made some changes. We went from a quarter to a semi-annual, spring, summer, winter, fall, from a glossy, printed, mailed to every property owner to it's on the internet and here's a handful. I don't think that worked. I think whatever we spent on that, we didn't get much bang for it. I know why we did it as well as anybody. But I think we really aren't doing this service to our constituents by not getting this thing to their door, in their home, on their counter, on the coffee table, in the office. It's more likely to be picked up, browsed through. They'll get information, they'll look at the pictures, look for pictures of the kids. I agreed, we cut for the right reasons. I think we got the wrong results. We ended up with a number of printed copies we throw away, that were, you know, ready to hand out, let us know, forget it. We dropped at mom and pop's, how long do you think they stayed there before the next bird free trader came, they got thrown in the space? It just, there's a reason it worked the way it worked, it was good when we put it in their laps. If we need to cut back a little bit, maybe on the quality of the gloss, maybe on the number of pages, I don't know. But my strong recommendation would be that we do at least a twice-a-year mailing, spring, summer, winter, fall, or whatever combination you want, if not a quarterly. The postage is the heavy part, but I look at the town of Saranac. It's a very simple newsletter. But as I talk to people, they get excited about it. You see it in their home. Oh, look, they're doing this. And when I get it quarterly, it isn't trying to ram, you know, a half a year's message in there. It's too much. Spring and summer are two different beasts with programs and needs.
How much did it cost to mail one
I
issue?
knew you were gonna ask that, and I didn't do my homework, but I will. I will do that.
Do you
I don't know if you
Meg?
remember, we spent about $2,500, I think.
Nobody, what, like, you know, strictly business, what cost mailing out?
But
Weight
that's a
and
much
everything's
thicker-
different, yeah.
I know, I just wondered, you know.
I think it was around $2,500, for some reason that number's bad.
I'll
I'll find out and email it to her.
I think, Bryn, you need to have a budget. You need to know how much you wanna spend, and then you just have to figure out.
Well, you're right, and that's what we did, and we did nothing, because we let the budget drive it. What I'm proposing is, we should let the need drive the budget, because it's that important.
But if you have a budget, you can figure out a way to do what you need to do in that budget.
Right, I'd rather spend the money and go no gloss, black and white,
Yeah.
and get it out to as many people as possible, and cut the cost
Fewer
down that way.
pages.
But I have the last one that we have up on my computer, I just pulled it up because it's on the town's website. There's a couple of things, and they're small editorial type things in the sense that, you know, I think I'd like to see more purposeful articles And like a lot of people, it's one more thing on the heap to get done. It's like, okay, I gotta get that, you know, newsletter article together and stuff like that. But the thing that made me laugh the most about the last issue was everybody was like, as I'm writing this, it's winter and it's very cold out. Well, yes, winter's cold, we know that. You know, take that paragraph out and give me content. Tell me what the town's doing, you know, so we can, I think a lot of us too are potentially working on some different and unique projects. I think there's some updates, but as it goes back to it, what I really believe that we should be doing is to collaborate with partners such as the chamber. They put out the chamber notes. Ask them if they would be willing to email this out to across the chamber notes email distribution list. The Development Corporation, I believe, also has one. And then I think we should also be building up infrastructure, digital infrastructure, where if people want to receive it, that we send it out to people and then we remove them from the mailing list. I think that's the responsible thing to do to cut down on some of those costs. A lot of organizations do not send out their minutes to their members. They ask people, would you be willing not to receive the minutes by mail and receive e-communication? So,
You can do a digital e-newsletter,
right.
send that out.
So I think we can do a combination of things, but I think a lot of folks, if we gave them that that option, would potentially sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is obviously, if it is $1, if that's what it costs to produce it and to mail it, and it comes out 4 times a year, every property owner would be paying $4 a year, which isn't exactly, not gonna drive you into bankruptcy. Probably, hopefully not. The other thing too, I agree with Mike on the articles, but I think there should be some emphasis on financial stuff. So people know with taxes, how much they're paying, and what part of it is school tax, what part of it is county, and comparisons, what water rates are in the town of Plattsburgh, what they are in other towns, what are the costs and so forth, what are the costs to renew things, because a lot of times there's a misunderstanding, when people get a tax bill, and they get a tax bill and say, my taxes are X. Well, tell them what they are.
Can we get, I think one of the things we ought to do, and maybe, next, we put out a publication, advertise that we are looking for a committee. We would like to have a town newsletter committee. A group of volunteers who would work on the newsletter. In particular, they would work on content, et cetera. And if you share that load instead of having it fall on, okay, I think there are people out there that would like the idea of being a contributor to the newsletter.
But I think if we're gonna go to that, and I don't disagree with the need to help kind of expand our kind of accessibility and communication, but I think there should be a communications committee. I think there's lots of opportunity from a wider, scope. We talked about if there is a water break, how are we communicating that stuff effectively to people in the moment? Are we putting stuff out through New York Alert? Are we putting stuff out to the fire department's, digital boards?
You just took like 6 giant steps ahead of where we are.
Right, but we're 6 giant steps very far behind though. I mean, there are things between social media that's free. We could potentially get an intern from, the college that's doing stuff like Due North Magazine and, the Saranac Review and a wide variety of stuff. But I think that's where having a committee, not just putting them in a little tiny box and saying, you're gonna do a quarterly newsletter, give them some opportunity to make some recommendations, so.
I think the other thing too that we have is, we have Meg, who was that's her profession, and so.
We've hired, remember, a editor to help pull this together, do the proofing, bring suggestions about design and graphics and so on. And maybe there's a combination with that person to help them find 2 or 3 other individuals with some skills that we could work to refocus, repurpose the magazine. And I think you could find that with all of our stories in there, that we could be content rich and fluff lean.
Last year it
That would
was,
save pages.
it was kind of like, I did what Bonnie did. Bonnie told me what to do and I just did it.
Yeah, it was
And-
year one.
Right, and all the department heads submit their stuff and it went through, but I think we could really make
Yeah,
it.
and we need to limit what some of them feel they need to share, what really is needed in there.
And I think you
More
drive,
structure.
you can drive it back just to the website. You know, there is some good information there. You know, I think of codes, for example, they're posting photos of the current projects that they're working on. You know what I mean? If people don't spend a page of 3 or 4 photos, you know, maybe you do one and say,
Send
hey,
them there.
you know, check this out.
And that'll bolster our online
Really
traffic.
would. You know, and I think if we can pull this first one off with a direct mailing, I think your idea, we could gather that from individual mailboxes. There could be a very simple tear-off on one of our pages that says, in the future, I would prefer to receive the newsletter, I would like to save a branch on a tree, please email it to me at, you know, if my email address changes, I'll be responsible to let town know, and we pull them right out.
Yeah.
Then I'd feel better, the people that need the mail are getting it, and the ones that, because they used to pop up all over the place also in the community, because people had them and they brought them in, and if you're on the mailing list and you're a professional office, you got it, it's on the coffee table, they're gone.
But I think if we had a small card though, Jackie, I think, for example, would be a great ambassador for that, to say, hey, you're coming in to, you know, drop off your taxes and so on and so forth. You know, we're gonna be sending out the newsletter, do you wanna receive it in mail, or do you want an email copy? People could just zip something right there.
We could stick that on
We
our
could
water
do a-
bills.
Yeah, we could do a
Exactly.
cross comparison type thing, and if people are on the list, we click them off and we, you know, save the money, so.
We all agree then?
I think I made some notes, I think we're all in agreement, maybe we've heard enough, if you wouldn't mind, Meg, coming in, we can sit down and try to more formally structure what we think we're hearing and how we're going to do it. Something I can share with department heads, and in the interim, I will see what's in this year's budget, I'll find out what postage is, and, you know, we can start going forward.
Do you think we should have a committee? Does everybody agree with that? Because I can start asking people I know, some
Oh,
people
I-
that
yeah.
probably would be interested.
I think we're all in agreement, right?
Sure.
I mean, but let our editor be the screening house for this committee.
Can I ask how the committee is going to know what a particular department really did? I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, Michael, on the fact that, you know, there's a lot of fluff and you really wanna hear the stuff, but the ones who know that are the ones that are operating the
Well, the
department.
departments will still write it, but one of the things this committee would do would be edit. But before they even write them, we're going to come back to them with some more focus of what we want from them. We haven't done that before, just, you know, tell your story, wave your flag.
Well, I'm pretty sure when you tell your writers, I want an article, or, you know, that's 750 words, right? And
Yep.
you give them a little bit of a parameter, and then you kind of, no?
And then I cross my fingers and
Yeah,
in 2 days editing,
yeah.
so I'll do that here.
But I do think that, I know that everybody likes to wave the flag, but I do think there's a certain element of hard news that has to be in there.
I
And-
like that.
And,
idea of
and just say,
finances and-
this is what it costs, this is what the highway tax is in the town of Plattsburgh, and compare it with the other towns. And some we may be favorable comparison, some not so favorable,
But it's the news.
but it's hard news, and we can combine that with fluff, but hard news has gotta be the core.
Let's get together, not this week, maybe next if you can, or the week after, but sooner rather than later, so we can sort of structure this a bit.
Because we're already going into, this is gonna be spring, summer, we're not gonna,
Well, it might be summer, we may skip spring
right,
to have the budget we need to go out to everybody this first time.
because what,
We need to find out from the water department, when does their next bill go? Maybe we can get an insert in there, if you'd like to get the newsletter only electronic, we can begin to weed that in. I'd rather skip a season and do something better than be pressured
When,
by.
the other thing too, when you put it out once every 3 months, it's not gonna be terribly topical,
That's right.
you know, I mean.
How about once every 6? That's even worse, and that's what we've been doing.
but this one's gonna be a whole year. It was spring, summer, the last one we did.
Yeah, well, we may have a whole skip in there, and the new one comes out, you know, the new and improved summer newsletter.
How many did
Here's the
how
scoop.
many did we mail in the past year?
I just don't remember that number, and I didn't do my homework for it tonight, but I will do it. I will do it.
I'm
Bernie, can you
guessing.
put something in the water bill, you know, those are those funky little bills where you tear off this?
Yeah, we can do something.
You can put stuff in
They
there?
can do,
Absolutely.
they can do a note on the
sticker.
sticker on the front, but they also have
Good.
a spot that they can print a message on.
Good.
Yeah, and we may need to do it multiple times in multiple ways to target those people that will respond and say, hey, just email, that's fine.
Could it be on the tax bill too, because it's the same?
Probably not, because that comes from the county. We don't,
Yeah.
we
Yeah, I
don't
guess
print
it
that.
does, doesn't it?
We don't print it,
But I think having,
but we have it in
even the
vehicles,
cards
too.
here though, you know what I mean,
Sure,
as people
at the
come in.
clerk's desk,
Yeah.
absolutely. Every time you buy a dog license, here you go, we're doing a new newsletter, we're gonna mail unless you tell us email only.
Yeah.
And that'll keep costs down, but you can at least feel like you're targeting everybody. I don't think we're targeting anybody now. All right, anything else on that? Meg and I will get a report back, Meg will get a report back on our meeting, and we'll gather some more specifics. So as soon as you can, look at your calendar, let me know, Meg, and we'll have a grand reopening of the newsletter. I think that's important. The next item that I have, and I'm not sure what Deborah gave you, but I'm confident you should find a resolution number 64 for the purchase of a Flig pump.
For
I've-
$7,967.80.
I've got some other stuff on that, I've got some photos, I don't know if you have that. The photos may not be real important, unless somebody knowledgeable could go through that. The bottom line is, that's a pump we need. We've looked at a variety of options, we don't like throwing good money after failing systems. And we're anxious right now. There's a lot of talk about when this frost goes, hold on, you got excited about the breaks you had so far. Wait, see what's next, because the frost is so deep. There's a lot of concern with so much snow, if it warms rapidly, if we get some rain. That pump up there has failed us regularly. We've had some real issues with that last year. We would like to be proactive. We have to do this anyway, get the new pump in. Hopefully, it's going to take time before they can get it delivered.
It's up down by the.
When we met with Scott, he,
No,
Where the
up by
construction is.
Trade Road on 22.
Oh, on the trade.
when we met with Scott, he was pretty
You did
adamant
that,
that
yeah.
he had to have this pump.
Yeah, otherwise we're gonna have,
Is that a branded name?
I believe so, yes.
What a
That's the, yeah, I
Gotta throw in a vowel there.
flicked. So, I mean, I've got stuff, if you don't need any more than that, I'm gonna put the stuff with the resolution.
The only thing Debbie didn't put was the price, and now we're going with the price that he shows.
We've got a
7,000.
price, I thought was an amount not to exceed, somewhere in the
We've got a
resolution.
product, we've got a total project price of $7,966.80.
Plus the freight.
It's not in the resolution, not.
No,
I-
if you look at the back of that, it says the freight is
Yeah.
included.
But it doesn't say anything.
Deletes
Doesn't say anything.
costs above do not include freight, and it crossed out
So
freight.
we're picking it up, right?
Well, we don't know if we can pick it up yet. If we can, we will.
Otherwise you got freight.
Boy, I thought I had a number on that.
Otherwise you
Let me
got
just
freight on it.
fumble a little more. Remember I said
So it
things
says
came late.
costs don't include tax for installation.
I've got the draft without
They
a
do
number, but I
include
thought I
freight.
had one with a number on it for that.
So you saw one that said that it didn't have.
Yes, I do.
Dismount cost?
Bernie,
Sir,
It's this back section is referring to.
explains.
this letter,
Tax.
Turn it over.
oh yeah, I've got that. I've got
So
that,
it doesn't-
that price, but I
doesn't
thought I had a
say that's what we're doing.
resolution. They had slugged that in.
Yeah,
I'm
no, they
assuming
didn't,
that
they
that's
didn't
what we're
write
doing.
it in. It's not in the resolution.
Well,
Said purchase in the amount of, and it says waiting for final quote, plus shipping and handling. But then they deleted, and it said freight would be included in the price of 79.
yeah, What I would suggest, then, we know the total project price of 8,000. The worst scenario for shipping is another 1,000. We're trying to find more information about picking it up, getting it delivered without that because of moving the project along faster as much as anything and saving the $1,000. If we were to pass this for an amount not to exceed 9,000, you're going to be in there. Cover all bases. If everybody's comfortable.
Yeah, I see at the bottom, he's got information regarding if you wanna do air freight, or
Yep.
if you wanna do.
Well, we're not gonna solve it tonight.
Well, we want to,
You've got time,
but if we're gonna pass this tonight, we need a
Right.
number on it.
So let's.
but 8,000's not gonna do it.
No, I said 9, an amount not to exceed 9, which would be
Okay.
the total cost plus the worst scenario for shipping.
If we did
It's
the,
bound to be
if we
less.
did the 4 to 5, air freight delivery, and with the total project fee would come to $8,901.08, if I did the math correctly, so.
So if we said amount not to exceed 9,000, it should be okay.
Yep.
All right, so we would correct that resolve to be an amount not to exceed 9,000.
But if they crossed off freight. I don't-
Yep.
So Nate told me those costs do include the freight.
I don't know,
Well-
there's some question there, whether it is or isn't.
And again, if we pick it up, there won't be any freight. And that's something being pursued pending the approval to make the purchase.
So we're not spending more than 9,000
We're not gonna spend more than 9,000,
That's
that
the
keeps it safe.
Cohoes is only what, Latham, you know?
Yeah.
From here, it's only 130 miles.
We've done that before,
Yeah.
and it works
We've
very
done
well.
it, I picked it up a couple times.
All right, so, everybody has
They
that
want-
down?
They
We
want
would-
you to go get that dog.
No, this is David calling back. Hello?
Well,
Hey, it's-
go ahead and take it, I'll read this.
I was just
I
gonna
wanna
say,
know
let's just read it.
where that's going. So we're going to insert an amount not to exceed 9,000. Everybody understands why? Resolution 64, purchase of Flint pump for I-87 pump station. Whereas the I-87 wastewater pump station is in need of a replacement submersible wastewater pump and a field service inspection report was performed, determining that the cost to repair is greater than a new pump. And whereas resolution number 13/311 authorizes standardization of submersible wastewater pumps and Flint submersible pumps was determined to meet town standards. And whereas Xylem Water Solutions USA, Inc. has submitted documentation stating Emmerich Associates is the authorized certified distributor for Flint pumps and is the exclusive supplier of Flint products in the upstate New York market area. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board approves said purchase and that the Water and Wastewater Director is hereby authorized to make said purchase in an amount not to exceed $9,000 plus shipping and handling. And be it further resolved that payment be made payable from the 2015 Water Wastewater Budget accounts, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the Water Wastewater Department and Finance Manager. Do I have a motion? Ms. LaFave, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Cashman,
So
any
would take out
discussion?
plus shipping and handling. Because if we're including that extra money, that extra $1,000, that's what it is, right?
Let's do including shipping and handling, we'll just change it to including. Amount not to exceed $9,000, including shipping and handling. That okay with you, Meg? Mike,
No objection.
any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Michael LaFave,
Yes.
Attorney Bennett.
Yes, resolution carries. Then you've got the minutes from the previous meeting. Of course, please look those over. Let us know what you've discovered, if anything. And there's a mix of some things, so again, just be patient. We have a request for a conference. I think everything is in place for this. I don't know what time you've had to go through it. I believe it's well documented.
Well, there's certainly a number of different presentations each.
And that one will come up next time. And please don't be shy about contacting Mel or Meg to get some further details on the program if you have some. There's another draft, and Jim came in a couple times today, was concerned with this one, with the backhoe. They have a revised resolution. Again, I'm not sure what you have in the packet. This was done late. They, of course, have need. Once they've done their homework, and if you look through this, I think you'll rest assured that our highway department has worked hard to find the best value. I think a couple of you went in and talked to Jim about this. They would like to get going. I've always been a little protective of our more formal meetings where we take more formal action, but they're all taped, they're all out there.
I don't see any differences.
A
Specific.
I don't know because I'm not 100% sure what she gave you. This is the new one I have. Maybe it is the same as the old one. I don't quite honestly see why we would wait further on this so they can begin the process.
What process would they begin in, Bernie?
Purchase.
But have they put out the bid?
This is under state contract.
Oh, state contract,
Yep.
okay.
And they also, one of the things we seem to have learned early this year is you don't just find state contract and say, there, I got the best price, because that will vary too.
Where does it say state contract?
It does not in the.
It does it in the resolution.
It should.
I would
Well,
agree.
we can edit that in.
Yeah, I would agree.
I know he checked on a number of things and looked at used ones, and the used one was just very slightly less, $10,000 less than a brand new one. And he said, you know, no sense of getting all those miles on it when it's brand new. Also, with the other one, he's $10,000 back, cost some of it, and that would be the difference. He said, you got the used one, it's only a matter of 10,000, and we're getting a new one that'll last. hopefully quite a
Tom, I'm looking for state contract somewhere in the documentation, and
I didn't find it.
I'm not finding it either.
He told me it was, but I haven't
I heard the
seen it.
same.
He told me it was, I just don't see it, so perhaps before we vote on it, you could just check to make sure that he gets.
Or we can vote on it pending that it is indeed state contract or below state contract price, and if
Well,
not,
he could just have a different letter that just says that, you know,
Well, it'd have to be in state contract.
Right, right. Which is why I'm confident it is, but I'm not seeing that reference in
It may
any of the
not
notes.
be, it may not be state contract, it may be that he's buying it, hooked on another
that's
Piggyback,
piggyback.
yeah.
but there's no reference to any of that,
Right.
which there needs to be. Well, we can wait, I'll just bring that to his attention, I'll have to redo his letter, I thought that was in there. Okay, well, we'll have to get that.
That's what more and more towns are doing now, is a piggyback, because they can't get.
Well, because the piggybacks are better than state contract.
Yeah.
Those piggybacks are basically bids other counties or towns.
Other counties or towns have done.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It has saved money.
Yep.
Road closures, it's that time of year again, even though it doesn't feel it, so you've got a note there.
Oh, I thought it was so hot today, I thought surely they need to close the roads.
Yeah. It's crazy how almost above freezing can be hot.
How did you receive a letter dated March 16th
Which one are you talking about?
from the highway request for road closure?
How did we receive a letter?
The supervisor received a letter dated March 16th.
No, it's in the resolution itself, Bernie.
Right here. There, well, I've got his letter, but I don't know why there's a March date on it.
Could be March 6th. I don't know.
The letter is being dated, that doesn't make sense.
Sort of back to the future.
The March They're confusing the date of the letter with the date he wants the roads closed by. The date for the road closure is March 16. That's not the date of the letter. That where there's an effective date with a blank, that should be March 16. And then the date of the letter should be whatever the letter is, which isn't finalized yet. Okay, so thank you, good catch. That's why it's a draft. State Conference for Historians, I don't know if you have any questions about that, I can try to answer.
I was curious, it's 3 or 4 day, no, 3 day convention, he's only going for 1 day? And taking his own car?
Yes, he's taking his own vehicle.
And the reasons for that?
There are a couple, one of the reasons, this one's Corning, yeah. One of the reasons is the distance. He wants some flexibility with his car while he's there. And we have some concern about our fleet vehicles going to Corning and back. We haven't had good success, and the cost of sending a team down on a flatbed to bring it back is even more. So it's kind of, he's willing, and the vehicle's not good. Right now, Alan has been having to use Goldie because his blue Jeep is having a little trouble with its transmission. Met with Steve today, we talked about that, tried to decide what the best route to go was. Based on the miles, which are much lower, it's got new tires. Everything else seems okay, but we really are having transmission problems with Jeeps. We decided to repair that, but we want to swap that one with the brown Jeep because of the difference in miles. And the brown Jeep doesn't have a good track record, but if he has a breakdown, he's somewhere in the town of Plattsburgh, he doesn't like traveling to Corning to pick up the car. So that's some of the why, and that other stuff.
I guess it's a long trip to go to Corning.
Mhm.
And he's driving down one day and coming back the next. I just don't understand why he wouldn't be staying for, I did look at the presentations, and they do repeat the presentations on another day.
Mhm.
So perhaps he's not going to, he doesn't need to take or doesn't want to take one of those other ones. He's picked out which ones he wanted to do.
And the longer he's
But-
there, the more the cost goes up too, of course.
Well, I'm just looking at the cost of travel,
Mhm.
and what the cost of the one night is not much compared to. He said $109. At first it was $218, and I don't quite understand. It was knocked down $218 to $109, and is that?
The standard room is 109. I don't know,
And-
obviously, he thought initially he might stay the 2 days, which is why I had 218.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
But if there's not enough to warrant it for him or us, then I'm glad he's coming back.
He's out of there before noon on Sunday.
Anything else on that? And as I said, again, go to the horse's mouth if you have some other specific concerns or questions. If you do any of those, I always, if we're all included or you share that, it's always information that somebody else maybe didn't ask and they were wondering. The next item, historian, you don't have, I don't think, one about the repair of the lifts. Okay. Our lift is, one of the lifts is about 25 years old, the other is 6 years old. One of the things you might find interesting is that the repair of the lifts is being charged to building and grounds. That really just underscores that these lifts don't just do highway equipment, we manage our entire fleet. The mechanics use them for vehicles from all departments. There are some needs. They're repairs that they've been asking for some time. I think Art's getting around to it. This is another one of those. If you want more time to process it, that's fine. If you are of the mind to act on that tonight, then they can simply get started. It's a piece of equipment we use all the time.
This is not something that we needed to get bids on because it's on the agenda.
Whatever the comfort zone of the group is, I will convey.
I have no problem acting on this resolution.
Everybody else all right?
Can we just spell superintendent at the end?
We will
We're gonna be
correct that.
bringing those trucks in and, you know, hopefully taking all those, you know, all the winter snow removal equipment off them and getting them ready for
Yeah, and it's,
spring work.
remember, we do our own inspections, we're doing oil changes, all kinds of maintenance and repair on, I don't even know what number of vehicles we have beyond snowplows and pickup trucks and cars, it just goes on and on.
Well, it needs to be done and.
It needs to be
better get
done.
it
All right.
I'm assuming that they've gotten their useful life out of it.
I think that's a good assumption.
If
Well,
it's
we're gonna
been- it's
continue to
been that
use them,
long.
we just have to repair them, we're not buying new ones.
Seals and stuff.
So that'll be done by this other company, right? Total Tool?
I'm going to call this resolution number 65, repair of 2 in-ground lifts in the highway garage, and ask for a reading.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh superintendent of buildings and grounds has requested approval for the repair of 2 in-ground lifts. The primary lifts utilized by the town of Plattsburgh Highway Department, and whereas the town of Plattsburgh Building and Grounds Department obtained a quote from Total Tools Limited, a sole source for the repair of these lifts, and stated that Total Tool Limited at 10 Kids Lane, Castleton, New York, 12033, is the authorized to repair of these lifts and the exclusive supplier of products in the upstate New York market area. Therefore be resolved, the town board, town of Plattsburgh, does hereby approve said repair and authorization of the building and grounds superintendent to proceed with the purchase and the repair of said lifts from Total Tool Limited in the amount not to exceed $6,131.16. And it be further resolved, the payment be made payable from the 2015 Building and Grounds budget account, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the Building and Grounds Superintendent, Highway Superintendent, and to the Finance Manager.
Have a motion.
Move. So move.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman,
Yeah, I was just reading something. Yes.
okay, Meg LaFave,
Yep.
and Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries.
Can I give you my 2 cents?
Yeah.
This company is excellent. They've done several things for my company and stuff. And on one of the lifts and the hoist, they went above and beyond. They not only repaired it, but they changed to the bigger size at no charge. Because the other piston was scored,
Mhm.
and they went to the next bigger size.
That's great.
Sounds like
At no charge.
which the frustration is many times you don't have much choice. Thank God they are doing.
Yes, exactly.
The next one is another new one that came at me late. I'm not even, I know I took a quick look at this once, but we've had a request from Squan Construction to release their escrow account. Most of the time, when we get these requests, it's a project that did a deposit, the project's done. As you know, you get a letter usually from Codes Planning, says they've complied with all of the town's requirements, so we can release these final funds. This is the opposite of that. This concerns Nextel, that has pulled their antenna off our tanks on Hammond and down by the college. Hammond and Clinton Community Tanks, which is some loss of revenue. And this process has gone on for some time. Dick Comey has written off on it. Scott has, et cetera. Now, my comment to them was, I want a letter from Scott for the file, because these are his water tanks, that he is satisfied that they have completed all of the decommissioning requirements that we had. You'll find in there a copy from Pyramid Network indicating the release. The exhibit that I signed is an internal document. They didn't want a copy of it once it was signed. They didn't, I went through it twice. I don't see a letter from Scott. So, I mean, I have no problem acting on it pending the documentation from the director that he's satisfied with the work that's been done for some time,
Tremendous urgency, next week.
which would be next week. I mean, it's their money, not my money. They would like their $5,000, or their $1,500, I guess, is what's left, which we all know how Mr. Comey charges. We thought it was a small miracle there was anything left. I'll leave that at that. So, you know, whatever your comfort zone is, I'm not gonna push this one. If it's something we can check off, fine. I would only act on it favorably pending the review of the letter from the director that he's satisfied. He indicated so verbally, but I want a letter for the file. Or consent, for all I care.
I think we can act on it next Monday,
I don't have a problem with that.
okay?
And we'll get his letter and do that.
And I had commented on it at the time, but in terms of the backhoe loader, likewise, if Jim can get us clarification that this is either state contract price purchase or a purchase under, you know,
Piggyback, yeah,
piggyback.
Yep.
You know, we can act.
totally agree.
Also, we had, earlier, resolution 1558, we approved the purchase of a Bobcat mini excavator. And likewise on that resolution, we did not have any clarification of that kind of an issue.
I think the documentation, he had 3 bids on that one. Right?
We had 3 bids, and the dealer here was the lowest one. Matter of fact, they gave him a better deal.
I think it was below state
Yep.
contract.
It was
Yeah.
below
Was
state.
below state
Yep.
We were
contract.
happy
I
that it
think
was
the
actually local
resolution-
too.
The resolution should have
Reference that.
referenced.
It would be good for the file, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Those are things sometimes we pick up after the fact, but it's
Yeah.
important. Yeah, we note that the quotes had to be solicited, but we don't verify that they were received.
Well, they were with the documentation.
It was in the
It's
backup
in the packet
documentation,
that-
yeah.
That I had, including it's still on the thing, that
Yep.
they've got
Yep.
3 of them, and
I
when it
remember.
went back to this dealer, the dealer dropped the price more than what the others wanted.
Dealers are a little bit hungry. That's all the stuff I have, other than I'm going to look for a motion to go into an executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular individual.
I make a-
Movement on that, Meg?
Right. I'll second that.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
I
Opposed? We'll go into executive at 8:22. I have nothing for after. Rick, if you want to bag it up, go ahead, and I will close it when we're done. We will not take any action.
Just to bring you up, update.
The dogs.
David called the lady after I gave him the phone number.
Oh, goody, I was just looking at the
He
one with the,
informed her she is
Liz
to
Capito.
remove.
I was looking through the recipes, and I'm like, gee, I think I gotta make some of these.
Oh,
Thanks, yummy.
And if she doesn't, then we'll go the other way.
Good.
So you're aware of the situation.
Good.
gave
That
me
sounds
another
really
number to
familiar
call
to me.
down there. For him to get a.
Oh, it'll ring a bell or something.
Good.
Thank you, yummy, oh, this looks
What a
good.
story that one's been.
Okay, Bernie, in order to be consistent, you have to choose
So when
whether
the guy
you wanna
comes
go by
out.
that or that.